following disappointing clinical trial results for CagriSema, and then BMO cut its price target for Novo Nordisk to $105, down from $156. Evan Seigerman, who is the BMO Managing Director of Biopharma Equity Research, joins us now. Always love a good healthcare pronunciation and biopharma pronunciation to send me into
Thanks, guys.
the holiday weekend here,
Yes.
or at least the break here. Ultimately, as you kind of look across your assessment of Novo's own solutions, that they're looking for more of the clinical trial and positive results around, how are they set up going into 2025?
Great question. I think it's important to review what happened last week. We had the CagriSema data, which you had mentioned, and frankly, it fell short of the expectations that the company put out. They said they wanted to see 25% weight loss. They posted 22.7. And in this game, every percentage point matters. I think the tolerability of CagriSema was also in question. So what does it look like going forward? First of all, this was supposed to be Novo's answer to Tirzepatide and Retatrutide, some higher efficacy drugs. And it kind of feels like we're no man's land here. So we're really focused on next year when it comes to 4 key results. That's going to set the tone for the commercial side of these products for both Lilly and Novo. And then mid-year for Lilly, we have Orforglipron, which is their small molecule pill GLP-1, which could really open up the market. So I feel like Novo is kind of losing its pep a little bit.
But you're still bullish on Novo, right?
Not as bullish as I used to be. And I'd like to note that in our outlook, we actually took Lilly and Novo away from our top picks. Focused more on names like Vertex. So we still like them, and I think the reaction last week was a bit overdone, but we cut our price target significantly.
What does it mean that you have an incoming administration as well and cabinet selects that could perhaps toss a lot of cold water on the advancements that we've seen and a lot of the demand that's been thrust towards GLP-1s?
Well, I don't think the demand changes because the consumer is the consumer regardless of an administration. When it comes to RFK, a lot of talk. I think when he maybe gets into HHS, he's going to realize that it's a very complicated organization and to affect a lot of change is very difficult. I am focused on Dr. Martin Makary, the potential FDA head, who I think could be good for industry. He's been a little controversial at some points, but overall has been supportive of the drug industry.
Well, Evan, RFK Jr. has made his feelings about GLP-1s well known, right?
Yes,
not a fan. If he did get confirmed, and we've had analysts on the show who actually worked at HHS, and they think it could be difficult for him. But even if he did, Evan, what could he actually do in that role to have an impact?
It's a great question. I mean, he could. I think the first thing he could do would be make it more challenging for Medicare to cover GLP-1s for things like heart disease and sleep apnea. That's a big hypothetical because, again, it's a lot of bureaucrats making those decisions. He could also just put pressure on FDA, be a little more, cautious in your, approval. But again, I don't think he's going to do that. So that's hypothetical that I'm speaking. I think he's more focused on food dyes, and just healthier living for whatever that means.
Do you think that we see any significant headway in the costs of healthcare tackled? Especially, and I know that that's multi-pronged too, because we're talking about everything from health insurance to the cost of drugs itself. And so where is the easiest or maybe lowest hanging fruit for that to be tackled?
So I actually think some PBM reform could help because PBMs, as we know, are kind of driving up the list price of these products because they like their rebates and discounts, and to get a bigger rebate and discount, you need a higher list price. So we didn't get any of that in the year-end spending bill, but maybe next year we get some action there. I also think that just for what it's worth, Lilly and Novo, the net price of these products is coming down as more insurance companies cover them. So I think it's about the out-of-pocket costs. I'd like to see more accessibility. That also comes with more supply. But I really think PBM reform is what could affect cost, especially for drugs, most significantly.
Do you put pen to paper, Evan, try to figure out, okay, this is how big I think the GLP-1 market could be in 5 years, 2030?
We've talked about that on this show, I believe.
I should remember.
I know. I think we're at about 150 billion plus across all players. Most of that's in the United States. It could grow. The way I think about it, that's important though, is it is a volume game for these companies, which is why Lilly and Novo are poised to win because they have the capacity and ability to supply these markets. So over time, the net price per patient goes down, $300 and $400 per patient per month, but you have many millions on drug.
It seemed like all of us became experts in messenger RNA over the course of the pandemic, and now many of those names, for the pullbacks that we've seen, and now analysts trying to re-rate and understand what type of platform additive that will be For the bottom line, is there any clarity in sight on that now?
So I cover Pfizer, we'll talk about it from that perspective.
Sure.
I don't really see them doing much with mRNA. It helped us in the pandemic, but their latest vaccine for RSV is a traditional protein vaccine. So I actually think for a lot of the vaccines going forward, that's where we want to be. Maybe with some personalized cancer vaccines, but that seems to has not gotten as much traction as we would have hoped. And when you look at some of the Moderna vaccines for RSV, for example, they've been disappointing.
You, Evan, in your coverage universe, you only have one lonely cell.
Yes.
It's one lonely underperformer. Insight. Ticker INCY.
Yes.
Why? Why is that a sell, Evan, as we head into the new year?
Yeah, we downgraded Insight back in June because the company decided to buy back $2 billion of their shares versus investing in the pipeline. And I've covered this company since 2015 or so, and I've always been disappointed with how they manage their pipeline. Most recently, they had a blow up from an acquisition that they bought. And my concern is that as we come towards 2028, the LOE for their big drug Jakafi, it's a pill, they don't have anything to replace it. And that's when you see multiples compress, that's when you see people dump the stock. So I need an answer to that pipeline because that's how biopharma thrives.
Evan, always great to see you, have you on the show, and have you here on set.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Happy holidays, everyone.
You too.
Holidays.